Hola, halito, hello. My name is Gershon Mosley. Most people know me from being a professional skateboarder, and that's pretty much it. Besides the people that I've been in contact with, and most of the people that I've been in contact with that aren't consistent in my life, which consistency is a rare thing for me. Like, consistency would go, like, there's people I've known, like Brian McNaughton, for so long, and there's times that I was in consistent streams of communication with him, going to see him and whatnot, but like, time goes by, and this was like, but that hasn't really changed our relationship in my mind, and I don't think in his, because when we communicate, it feels the same. It was like when I was with my great grandmother when I was younger. She would never give me I used to see it as a hard time, like, questioning, what have you been up to? So she would just let me be, and that was how I got used to just being with anyone. I don't expect to have to tell my story every time I sit down and talk with somebody. So, there's a lot of things that are left out, and, people might think that I'm cold, Sure, I'm calculated to some extent, but when I'm dealing with or not even dealing, but when I'm communicating with other people, I'm actually in that moment, most times. So I'm listening to everything that's being said, and I respond to the words that are being said, those words. So, because a lot of times the emotion, when we're up front, you could see in somebody's face or in their mannerisms how they feel. But like when you're online, people say a bunch of stuff, but you can't tell if that's, what they really mean. And so that being how I've learned to be, I read into everything. So the words that you use can be like misconstrued easy, because a lot of people only use certain words, and they don't, the vocabulary doesn't go as deep. And I've spent a lot of time with words, and I love them, but at the same time, it's become a problem for other people when I try to communicate with them, because I don't know, I can only assume, not even assume, but like speculate on what really is going on in somebody else's head, unless they tell me. And most people will tell me how they feel about me, but is that me, or is that just their perspective of me and how they are not being able to communicate their feelings straight up with me? Like, I do judge, like everybody else judges, but my judgment is based on how I go on, interacting with such this or that person, or human, human. But that is, that's what changes the relationships. A lot of people want to just jump into a relationship and it's like, hey, we're buddies. I don't think that way, because the only way that I can say that somebody's my friend is through the actions that are portrayed. And a lot of people, you don't know me, you want to like accost me, you want to physically grab me and all this stuff, because maybe you've thought about me all your, for a long time because of skateboarding, and just wanted to be like, damn, that was sick, bro. But it's been like 20 years since I was like really spotlighted, at least 20 years. So, I've changed a bit, and I was even changing back then, and people want you to be how they want you to be when they're watching you. They don't really accept the fact that, if I change, then that means that they may feel that, like, well, this guy is just an asshole now. It's like, but was I an asshole then? You never talked to me, or if you did, it was probably about skateboarding. We never really talked about real stuff, because I don't recall doing a whole lot of conversing with many people back in the days. I do more on the internet now, but like directly, I only really speak to the people that, that actually, I feel that actually like me to some extent, or even, who knows about all that, because I can't really be sure. I can say that the people that call me, the people that actually, when I call them, they're actually interested in talking to me. I can say that they care. But, I really can't speak for the majority of the people that I interact with, because a lot of times I hear from other people or through situations how I'm being spoke about. And, it's like, these people, the people that are this message that's being conveyed, usually doesn't come from the mouth of those that said it, and then or the people that are really like saying these things, that are saying it like direct, are online typing. So, you know, like, it's easy to just say things, but what you really mean, you know, it's like there's people that wanna say that I'm this or that. Sure, I get sad like everybody else. I get upset. I have all the emotions. However, I'm not online just spewing out shit just to be just doing that. I'm not saying woe is me, or I'm not going like, oh, fuck these assholes. I'll point it out as it needs to be. I'm trying to be healthy, and I would like other people to be healthy as well. But I can't expect anybody to do anything that I'm trying to do. You know, we're all a work in progress, you know, and beyond that, we're all on different schedules. So I try my best to not be extra critical unless the conversation is not going well and I'm really just trying to get out of it, because I'll push you away before I actually like try to embrace you, more than likely, especially if I don't know you. So and knowing that word, to know, is not just to know of or to have a slight interaction. To know someone is actually like spend time with them and have like a real relationship. Whereas nowadays people just think that like because I'm talking to this guy that we're friends, or this woman or girl or whoever, that we're friends. No, we're associating, we're communicating, we're trying to maybe build and bridge that gap perhaps, but it's not what people like to perceive it at times. So recently there was this guy that hit me up, and he wanted to hit me up on Messenger, like call me. And I was just like, I don't know you. And he's like, well, don't be weird. And it's like, well, he didn't even consider that it's weird that like that he wanted to just jump into a vocal conversation with me, and I have no idea who this guy is and what his motive for even talking to me was. But, you know, we went on in the conversation, and then he was trying to push religion on me. I've done a lot of studying on religions, and hey, to each their own, but I know what works for me and what doesn't. So, you know, like the whole, you know, I don't mean to be disrespectful to your beliefs, but like I would rather know than to believe. Believing really doesn't, it isn't knowledge. Regardless of what people like to say, it is not knowledge. It's not the same thing. One is based off of taking somebody's word for it or speculation, whereas the other, you have proof. You have you know, things that have shown, you know, the experience. And most of my knowledge comes mostly from experience. You know, I do a lot of reading and stuff like that. It's true. And I try to differentiate between whether I'm talking from experience or whether I'm just using something like the ideas, like, you know, I've interacted with so many people and it's been, you know, certain things are consistent. So I use this, oh, okay, percentage wise, this is kind of this, it seems like this. But it's not fact what I say always, because I'm talking about somebody else and that's their reality. I can't really say who they are. I can only say based off of my interaction with them how I feel, my perspective, you know. So whenever I'm talking about anybody else, I can't say that they are this or they are that. You know, I can say how they were. You know, so like when I was on the 9 Club and I was talking about Rodney or talking about the industry or all that, I'm talking about the past. I'm not talking about right now. So I don't know Rodney anymore. I didn't even really know him back then. I knew him well. You know, we had conversations. We sat down. I stayed at his house at times, but I didn't know his whole inner workings. I gathered a bit. You know, I'm perceptive to a certain extent, but there's certain things I would leave out because I didn't want to know. You know, skateboarding allowed me to escape a lot of that extra associating with people to certain depths, because when you know too much about some people, then it causes conflict to some degree, and the conflict really comes from, like, say, taking people for granted. You know, when you think that you know somebody, a lot of people don't change drastically, but that doesn't mean that they don't change. People will always say, "Oh, people don't change." We change every day. It's just, what are you perceiving? What are you talking about when you're saying people don't change? You can't really like use that broad stroke and say that everybody's always the same, because no one was the same as they were when they were 5. No one's the same as they were when they're 14, if they're like in their 30s or whatever. So somebody that was a dick back in the days, as I perceived it, you know, I've had people come back to me, like, said stuff, you know, we had bad interactions, but they've come back to me and said that, hey, you know, they apologized to me. I've had to apologize to other people, you know, and there's still people I want to apologize to for certain things, because, and it's not to say that I'm trying to take it back, because that's how I felt at the time. You know, that's what I was, being real to my feelings, you know. And now as I grow older, that's not how I feel anymore. And I've had so much time to look, you know, think about all that, because I spend more time alone than I do interacting with other people. So I'm not clouded with other people's perceptions so much. You know, I don't have every day the same crew of people, or even within the same week the same crew of people. And I've kept my life that way. And, you know, somebody asked me recently on Facebook, he was saying that I was, it was about the 9 Club. He was saying that I was hiding something. Well, there's a difference between hiding something and just not sharing what you don't think, or I don't think, is pertinent. You know, why would I tell you about, like, every aspect of my life on a show that's really more about skateboarding? You know, most of my life, even though I still skateboard just as much, you know, or maybe not as much, but I'm more focused now when I do. But that's not my life. I have many different ways to express myself, and I share it, you know, like how people take it, that's, you know, that's their business, you know. But I post stuff up, I do it freely, I've done it freely, but, you know, things have to change, and it's not so much that I'm expecting it to be paid out for any things that I do, but I can't go on being the way that I've been, because, well, I mean, I skateboard for myself, so I would share, and I do share, because I do feel that there are some people that actually are inspired by it. You know, I've been told, and I've seen I've seen the inspiration that people got from it, because, you know, that flattery, you know, like, what imitation's the best form of flattery, or a form of flattery, basically. You know, I've seen people imitate certain things, and it's not to say that I'm trying to trademark anything, but there are certain things that I witness people change after the interaction with me. You know, whether it be me saying something, or me actually just skating or talking or whatever it was I was doing. And this doesn't cater to my ego, because in a lot of cases it really makes me feel, you know, a certain way, you know, because I grew up in a way, you know, I grew up with the hip hop, the original hip hop thinking. You know, originality is key. You know, now, you know, throughout the years I've watched hip hop, you know, just turn into, like, you know, everybody's rhyming the same. Well, but it was done that way back then too, and dressed the same, rhymed the same. Skateboarding was the same. Somebody said something to me today about how people are going big. They're worried about going bigger, their clothes, you know, but you go watch enough videos back in my time, or anybody else's time, you'll see. But like the earlier times, there's always been unique individuals, and whereas the majority of the population, they're not really fully expressing themselves. So it's easier to go with what is working for other people. But for me, what's working for other people, it's not how I feel, you know. Like, I come from my thoughts. I don't come from, like, the world doesn't, it inspires me, but it doesn't force me to do anything. It doesn't make me want to be like it, you know. Like, How do we fit? We fit because we're unique. Each piece is unique. There is no two pieces that fit. No two personalities are exactly the same. You know, like the whole, traits thing. I was, read up on the traits. Like somebody made a comment saying that I'm the, INTJ. And there was one other one that kind of fit, and it was pretty much the same thing, and I think it was FJ. And, it pretty much, like, defined me to a great degree, and it made me really like consider like, oh, this is probably why there's been so many issues, and these so many issues have been in the relationships because I'm not very outgoing, I'm not very outgoing when it comes down to trying to like maintain relationships. I didn't have a bunch of girlfriends. Mainly because of, the intimacy. This was brought up today. Intimacy. Like, I've only been intimate, and intimacy is not necessarily sex. The intimacy, like, as in, like, really relating. Like, I can sit with my friend Jordan in Kansas City, and we don't have to talk, or we could talk about just about anything. And there was one time that we even had an argument, and, it was respectful, and I manipulated to an extent to find out, and that's one of the things that probably is very undesirable about me for other people, is that I question so much. I'm always questioning things, and it's not to say that like everything's fault or at fault. It's just that, it comes back to me and my perspective. How do I fit in? How does this work with me? How do I work with it? So I have to consider these things. And I think because a lot of people don't seem to do this is why they end up in a lot of trouble. And I'll make commentary, and I'll try to talk to certain people when I see them, talking about these things, and I'll say stuff. And I get the attitude a lot of times is like, it's none of your business. And it isn't. But if you're on social media, if you're posting publicly, you're talking about something, you should consider that somebody might actually want to answer that. It's just like, thinking about how social media is now, or how it is just in general, compared to how it was when I was growing up. Social media is like when somebody posts on their page and they're friends with like 40 people, or more than that, obviously, usually. Pretty much everybody's gonna see that. So it's like back in the days, it's like it would be like going out into the middle of the street and just screaming your thoughts. Somebody would say shut the fuck up, or somebody's gonna say like, hey, maybe you should come over here and talk, sit down and talk. At least where I'm from. It was more of that than it was like shut the fuck up, because I didn't come from a background of disconnect to that extent. There was a disconnect. Everybody has some sort of disconnect with the family because we take for granted the ones that are closest. So that is one of the problems that we face because of the lack of communication. Being in touch with our feelings is one of the things that the society, it seems, is really trying to get us away from, and that's what social media really does help with. You have a lot of people on social media talking crazy, and they would never say none of this to your face, and then they'll get into the emotions based on what they don't get. When you talk straight to somebody, they're thinking that you're talking shit, whereas what they're doing is talking shit because they're expecting you to be like them. So when we're talking about perspectives, you got to remember, you're talking about your perspective. I'm talking about my perspective. And I try not to make it so that I'm just saying you are like this. I'm saying it seems like you're being like this, or, like from what I'm reading, this is what I gather. And I don't know. I'm if it's true about the personality trait, there's not a lot of people aren't used to being around people like me, I guess. You know, I don't go out of my way to try to be friends with people, and I'm weary of people that do that to me or other people. And for me, I have a valid reason, at least with the being noted for skateboarding, because skateboarding is an activity, and that's not who you are, or never was. It's not who anybody is or were. But a lot of people use that as that's who, this is my character, this is who I am. But well, when you take away the skateboard, so yeah, they may be thinking flip tricks or this or that, looking at spots. However, you're not riding a skateboard, so you're no longer a skateboarder. And that is one thing I don't think people take into consideration. So when they talk to me, I'm known as a skateboarder. To many people the most people that know of me, I'm known as a skateboarder. And that's just one aspect of my life. So I'll how I take it or how I respond to it, a lot of people have been critical on that. You know, I don't call myself a legend. I don't refer to myself as such, because the word legend, it implies like the word of mouth, and every time a story goes through somebody, you know, transfers from one mouth to the other, it changes. And that's what legend is based on. Legend's based on the spoken story, and these stories, every time they change. So when people say that to me, I feel like I look at it from the perspective of disrespect. I wouldn't say that to somebody, because it you know, it's just not it's not really the story, because I can tell my story, and it's not legend. Somebody else talking about me, that's legend. So me talking to somebody else, I have always thought about how that might appear. And when I think about that, and it's because it's happened so much within my life that I've had to think about that, you know. And then how I respond, you know, a lot of the people are coming from a place of they feel that that's respectful, and I'm not saying that that's not in their mind. I can't say that they're wrong, but when we're talking about respect, you know, respect would be to give people their space or accept them for how they think. And when I don't agree with what somebody's saying about me, people take it as I'm just cutting their whole opinion, their whole thoughts down, and that's not so. You're talking about me. A lot, you know, like people talk about how I will answer or like go after comments when they're unflattering. Well, I mean, these people have this negative opinion. Well, I either want to make sure that they are truthful with that and they have a justified reason, or I want them to recognize that, hey, what you think is not what actuality is. You know, let's see about this. You know, people say I'm weird because I do that, because most people don't do that. That's not me. You know, and I can't speak for anyone else, and I don't try to. You know, and I'll generalize. I'll say we, and I'll say they, and I'll this and that. Yeah, I use pronouns. But like that you know, that's neither here nor there. It's just, you know, there is commentary. But when it comes down to like talking face to face, I'm talking to the one that I'm talking to. You know, like talking at, you know, like even within the rants are they mean something for the time that when I'm talking about them. It's not just me saying something just to be saying it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be talking, because I'm normally not talking. I'm usually like alone, thinking or skateboarding or riding, or, you know, it's all thought process, you know, really. So I don't really think the ones that really take me negatively, unless they have a justified reason, you know, because I will say things that are critical, and I do speak to certain people with a certain level, you know, like mirroring their own, because some people don't consider like walking up to somebody else, and I'm using this as a metaphor, but like just punching somebody, and, you know, because they punch their friends and that's how they say what's up. But you know, when somebody just calls me out my name, like I addressed this on the 9 Club, You call me Gersh. I don't know you. How would you like it if somebody just called you whatever they decided to call you? You got to ask yourself that question, because that's just hypothetical. But honestly, I'm just saying, and when I've read after people talking about that, and then these people that will say that they respect me will call me Gersh. That's not respect. If somebody says that they don't like something and you do it anyways, you're only going from your ego. You're only treating it like, oh yeah, fuck that dude. He's who I say he is, which is the opposite. I am who I say I am. Who you think I am, who you want to believe or whatever, has nothing to do with me. That's all you. So I just wanted to, say that. And I mean, there's a lot of other things I could say, but this is something that's been on my mind, and I guess I needed to share it. So, you don't have to like it, but this is the truth. I'm not trying to blow smoke at anybody. I'm not trying to sell you anything. Like the overall concept of my life, I've given. And most of the people that expect stuff still, all they did was get. It's like they got inspiration. Hey, that was something. Even if I didn't give them anything other than that, you got something. But what did you give me? It's like, and I'm not even expecting. I don't ask people for shit. I put it out there. I was like, you can give me if you want to. Like, somebody just asked me, he was like, he wanted to make a skateboard for me. I didn't really want a skateboard because I'm more of a minimalist, and I'm trying to like really cut down what I already have. I have a bunch of stuff, and like my emotions aren't based on what I have. It's not based on a physical property. I mean, people, but I can't control what other people do or how other people think. So I can't really like put too much emotion on people I don't know. So comments and stuff like that, they only affect as far as like the thought process. And when you get stuff that is constant and it's just like constantly, all they're talking about is themselves. And you gotta wonder, why is it important that you need to say something? Like, you're saying something about me, but you don't want to communicate with me. It's like, I've been on, Facebook or these different platforms, and people have these opinions, but they won't ever come and talk to me, and or they want to do it in public on comments and stuff like that, as opposed to like private messages. Or they want to just talk shit, with their friends and never tag me. It's like, hey, what is that, circle jerk? It's crazy. So when that stuff happens, and I get wind of it, I go after it, because hey, that's the kind of guy I am. I don't really like bullshit. So, when people are full of shit, I want to make sure that you know that you're full of shit. At least when you're fucking with me. So, whatever with all the, the nonsense, I'm too old to just be like bowing down to anybody, and I never did when I was younger. So why would I do it now? Why would I like, oh, these people don't like me? It's like, well, what have you done for me? It's like, how does your opinion matter? Like, for the last 20 plus years, I can say for a fact that like the people that say that they support me didn't. It's like, what, you liked something? It's like, I mean, support, and like my friends, the ones that I can talk to, they do support me. Like that's like very important. And I probably don't tell my real friends enough how much I respect that and how much I love it. But I try to do what I can when I can, and I'm not like, my life is not, I don't base it off of money or notes, federal notes, or anything of the material nature when it comes down to real friendship, real relationships, because if it can be bought, then it can be sold. So then it's worth what? It's worth as much as you pay for it. So that's how I see a lot of relationships, is that a lot of people, you were my friend, but you haven't talked to me. But when I do talk to you, you'll say like, why haven't you talked to me? Why haven't you called me? Well, I've left a trail for many years, and people can see that I've been putting in work and on different levels. However, a lot of the people, and most people that will say these things to me, I haven't seen what they've been doing. Yeah, they might have been working 9 to 5s and stuff like that, but hey, If we respect each other, then we'll make time if we want to really get together or speak. We hurt the ones close, or not even that we intend to, it's just that we'll take each other for granted because we are used to having the attention anyway. But when you don't get the attention, then you'll look at it as more special. So I think when people try to interact with me, they're thinking about it as like this major occasion, which it could be, but if that occasion only involves you, then how's that special for me? And how can I help make that special? Why would I help make that special? You have to ask yourself that question, because I don't think some people do when they get upset with my either just me saying no, I don't want to interact, or just not commenting or whatever. Just like, I'm done. When I'm done, I'm done. It's like I don't need to go back to certain situations. I don't need to talk to certain people because I know where it's going to lead. If I spend enough time seeing that it's like a consistent conversation and always the same thing, it's like, that's insanity. It's the definition of insanity, because I want it to change, but how would it change if it's expected to always be the same? Skateboarding. Using skateboarding as a topic, like, skateboarding is very masochistic, but it takes you to different levels. Like, the longer you do it, it's a martial art. It's like the longer you do it, the more focus you may get on it, but the more that it kind of guides your thinking. So like, whereas I used to just drop in and do a trick, I'll ollie in and do a trick, or not just a trick, I'll do multiple tricks, because, well, that single trick isn't as important anymore to me when I do it, because I've done it so many years. I've been skateboarding since 1988. So I'm older than a lot of people that are actually like doing it, and I'm not just talking about the youngsters, but I'm talking about some of the, people that are heavily noted for skateboarding. So that is something that I don't think a lot of people take into consideration, and then when people want to make their judgments about me, they don't consider that what they're probably focused on was 20 years ago. They're talking about what they saw and not who I am. And so when they're hearing what I'm saying or reading, I don't know how many people read. It seems like less people read than actually are, when you're talking, they'll listen, or you get a video where people are talking, they're more interested in that than having to read anything. And I've proven that. I do different posts for different reasons. People don't really consider, and how would they realize why I do certain things? We're all scientists. A true scientist does experiments. So when you stop experimenting, then what are you? A follower? But nobody was born to be a follower. Some people, we all rearrange in certain places, like there's not one particular leader. Any good leader knows when to relinquish that position to give it to the one that knows better. So we always rearrange in our positions. So, like I may in a lot of cases be, like know more things, maybe more words or certain things to who I'm talking about, but a lot of times some of the people that may not have a huge vocabulary, they know things. You just maybe innately, or they've had the experiences, but how they express themselves is different. But I've witnessed a lot of different situations with people, and I've talked to 5-year-olds that were brighter than some of the people that are like, well, than a lot of people that are online, unfortunately. And, I don't know if that's just because they're just showing their angst on there because they can't really do that in real life, because a lot of people cannot speak their mind on a job because their well-being is based on that. So it's not that they have a choice. Is that if they do have a choice, but that choice is not a viable choice, because what are they going to do if they say, I don't agree with that, and then the one that they're saying it to is the one that holds those notes over their head? It's like most people will not say that, and then even beyond that, a lot of people just like get into, carry that throughout their life, and that you're not it's a buildup, and you end up like super frustrated. So when you can take it out on somebody, you will. And that happens a lot on the internet. You know, a lot of people are like just saying stuff. And when you really like get into the break it down, they're not really saying anything other than I'm angry. And I don't know why. But you're here, so I'll be mad at you. You're talking to me, so fuck you. That's what they're saying, you know? But hey, you know, it's not that I don't care, because if I didn't care, I would have never done beyond the whole, you know, professional stuff. I would have never shared after that. I would have never spoken to anyone. I would just, whenever I'd see somebody that skateboarded, I would just like, you know, but I continue to do that, and I like people. You know, I don't put up with shit, but I like people. You know, and I like the fact that we should be able to express ourselves. If you could say fuck you to me. It's like, you know, people can say that, but it's like they want to take it further, but, you know, they don't even realize that that emotion is based off of nothing real. There's no real reason to be feeling like that. It's probably more based on something else, but you're just not identifying that. So I'm the asshole. And again, yes, I can be very confrontive, or combative is probably the better word. You know, in a sense of like when we're talking, if I see that somebody's just really just trying to, you know, and even with me being combative, I'm more still trying to just get to the point, you know, trying to like find out really what it is you're talking about, because, you know, a lot of people are just saying, they're just saying words. You know, it's not giving a really a real true reason why they're upset. So they're not looking for a real resolve. They just want to vent. And, you know, that's what they think that the social media is for. Dear Diary. You know, what's funny about that whole concept of Dear Diary is that back when people used to have diaries, those were secret. Now, you know, like people have been trained, grew up with the internet and cell phones and shit like that. So people are online telling their feelings. And then, you know, I've commented on enough people that really got bothered by the fact that I even commented, like, and I was commenting with concern, like, hey man, maybe you should consider this. So, but they don't ever think about these things because they didn't live that life. They don't know the difference because their life has been open the whole time. You know, it's like, most people can't hide, and most people won't let you hide if they have a choice, because that's why people are always in groups and stuff like that. They're always talking about somebody else as opposed to what they're actually up to, or they're talking about what I did. I don't even talk about me being a professional skateboarder other than when it matters, and really it only matters because I still am. I still do it. I still get paid off of a product. You know, like I still actually function on the level that I'm able to really refer to myself as that, because I still do inspire people when they see me. And then it's more so now probably because of my age, whereas all the people, and not even all the people, because I mean Costins and Guy Marianos, these dudes are like, we're all around the same age. Those dudes are ripping, you know, whereas there's other people that, and it's not to say that they're not living great lives and actually doing other things that are way more important. But, you know, it's just like when you're like trying to sell it and you're saying that you're this, but you're not even really focused enough to like get better at it. You're still doing that routine, you know, and this is coming from my place of judgment. You know, this is how I feel. This is why I don't do it that way. And actually, you know, it's just, you know, most people don't consider that. So when there's a comment, you know, that they don't like, they'll take it as like I'm just attacking them. Well, it's just, well, if anything, I'm attacking your ego if I'm attacking. Because the ego, it's like, well, it's not me that's claiming shit. I'm doing it. I'm not trying to claim I am. You know, like I don't spend time saying I am this, but I see a lot of people like that's who they're trying to present themselves as, but they don't even stand up to what they were. It's like, I never believed in a peak. You know, it's like, if you're gonna always like strive to be better, even if it's not to do more tricks or do like do the grandiose, it's to build. How can you say that there's a peak? If you choose to say that there's a peak, then that means that you decided there is where you stop. I mean, some people got hurt and whatever, but still, like I said, it's not about the tricks. It's not about any of that. It's about really how you think, especially how you portray it. Like that's the thing. Is like a lot of people are selling an ego, and they don't even realize it, and they're the first to really try to talk about somebody else's ego. Yeah, I have an ego, and my ego only works to get me to like fulfill something that I'm really that I have in mind. I go out by myself and I like tripod up and I'll do tricks. I'm not doing actually most of the stuff that I'm doing that I do on a normal basis lately up until this time has just been to get myself into a proper shape, because there's been like times that I didn't focus so much in skateboarding, and my idea of it wasn't so much it was never to sell anything. Like the selling stuff only came as a result of, well, this is how I make my living. This is how I pay my rent. This is how I do this. But then I stepped away from that, and I know there's other ways. So if you don't buy my product, that's fine. It's like I know who does and who doesn't, and I love it when people try to tell me that they support me. When it's not true. Because those are usually the people that are really trying to say that I'm the bad guy. There's enough people saying, oh, I used to love you, and then you said this, and it's like, well, you didn't like what I said, so now you're saying that you don't support me anymore, whereas I had to say it to a couple people. It's like, when was the last time you bought anything with my name on it? Or if ever? Like that's the question. People act like they're liking something, or maybe when they're talking amongst their friends, bringing my name up, they feel like that's like support. But, well, it's not. It's not. Like, I can equate, if we're talking about, like, in a sense of, like, that financial, because usually that's what they're talking about when they're talking about support, it's not. It hasn't. So the people that have supported me when it comes down to it, in my afterlife from the industry, the ones that do know of my skills from skateboarding, that's how they supported me, is that, giving me the chance to get into this other skill. Like actually, like not just going, oh well, you're not, you don't have the skills or this or that, so we can't have you do this. There's been people that gave me a chance to do something I didn't even know how to do until I got into it. I'm a fast learner if I'm focused, and that's the thing, is that it's all about the chance for whoever, like the individual, like when we're oh shit. So all that being said, what you think is not necessarily the truth. How you feel is not necessarily the truth. But we do have to respect the fact that people are all living, and there is a different perspective from each and every individual, and just because we have a perspective doesn't mean that that's what we're directing that at. It doesn't mean that that's exactly what it is. So that's that. Raul Delgado, Paul Sharp, he was actually influence for me today. It was his birthday, or was it his birthday? Shit. Yeah, no, it was his birthday. So it was his birthday, and I said hello, and he hit me back, and like I wanted to talk to him, because I haven't talked to him in a minute, and it's kind of made me feel really good, and not only that, he had a friend, and like one of his ex-girlfriends chimed in, and then I don't know, she remembered me, and then there was kind of, we had a little exchange, and I went on her page, and I saw, like, she had a post, and it kind of inspired me to do this, actually, and It was, I think a lot of my life has been a path, and I feel like whenever I'm on the right path, things just fall into place. As I need things, they come. I don't, and I got to a point where I started, I wasn't, I haven't desired much for a long time. Like I go take care of what I need, and the wants have been basics, but obviously life gets bigger and we desire more. I'm not like super materialistic. However, I'd like to be closer to certain people when I feel like being closer to them. Whenever they have time to be close, I'd like to do that more. But also I like to do more with skateboarding and the interaction with the community. And not just that, but like music and like the different aspects of art, because art is one of the things that really like allow or recondition us to be actually free, because honesty is like very important with art. Like if you're just doing a repetitive motion and you're like you're like trying to sell it, it doesn't come off the same. When you come with unique things, those are aspects of your personality, your thoughts. So your honesty is the most important. So that's why I really respect certain people, like Guy Mariano, like I mentioned earlier, Rodney. I haven't seen Rodney do anything for a while, but like Rodney was like, to a certain extent, like he was a model in two different ways. And like I in the past I did dwell a lot on the negative, and people perceive me that way, but you have to realize that after 20 years you should have a lot to say. But there's only so much time to say it, especially when, your spotlight is only like that big. Like, or I don't know if I keep saying that, but that being said, it's as complicated as you make it, but it can open up as you get older. I was always told that the door the door closes more. But I never thought that to be true, and I never saw it as true, because when I was younger, the door seemed closed. And as I get older, I have better communication. I'm able to communicate with people that I probably wouldn't have been able to communicate with in the past. So that's why I even bother with social media, or even the reason why I came home. It has a lot to do with that. People ask, "Whoa, it's like, why are you at home?" It's like, well, your foundation is very important. You don't build a house on a cracked foundation. So I learned that, I had so much going in the material world, but I could never be happy with that because the foundation was cracked. There are certain things that I left that I didn't deal with, and I need to. So my friends are very important to me, and there's only a few, really. Like I can throw out a bunch of names, but like I said on the 9 Club, is I can say I'm your friend, you can say you're my friend, but what I did leave out on that is that the actions are the truth. So like, if we're really friends, then we should communicate at certain points. I have a lot of people that like stuff or whatever, but they don't comment. They don't PM me, it's like we're on Facebook, or whatever. You don't have to call me, but, if you say we're friends, but you never communicate with me, it's like, is that real? That's really what I was talking about. It's like, so many people that will say, oh yeah, he's a great guy, this and that. It's like, yeah, but, how great am I if you don't want to talk to me? You don't return my calls, or it's just, when we do talk, it's like, I'm being like, I'm considered, and I will be an antagonist, but I'm considered an antagonist when I'm talking about stuff that's like challenging, maybe, government or religion, the two topics that people say don't talk about, but those are two topics people should talk about, because if we want really to get to the truth, we have to have that discussion. Because people will just accept beliefs as true, But these beliefs will conflict, and not even conflict, but like they'll intrude on other people's lives, you know. But it's all good for you. But when it's somebody else that doesn't agree with that, then they're the ones that are bad. You know, that's why I rather know than to believe. You know, I spent time with belief, and belief got me nowhere. You know, I was raised Christian, you know, and I saw there's a lot of positive. The Bible is not full of fiction. It's just how you read it. Most people don't realize that, you know, parables are stories that are really designed for certain people, faith, but for other people, it gives examples. A couple hellos: Sean McErlane, Jordan Maurer, Luis Cruz, Cody Cahill, Jeff Kim, Brent Howard, Billy Edney, Zach Elder, Brian McNaughton, Frank Carrata, Adam McNatt, Jason Ritchie, Katie Blackwell, Jabbar Hiles, Tanner Green, Jason Bontrager, and of course my family. You know, my mother, my little brother, my grandmother, my sister, and all the others, obviously. So that, you know, it's brief. It's not everybody, but, you know, some of the people I'm thinking about right now. So I hope this clears it up, clears some of the situations that might have occurred or whatever up for certain people that won't ever talk to me or get to hear my perspective because whatever reason. But one way or the other, it's the truth. It's how I feel, you know, like not just feel, but based on things that I know as well. You know, there's a lot of situations that I did leave, and pretty much everyone was on purpose, but the purposes all are different. So anyway, I just wanted to say hello to all those people, and, you know, anyone that actually really cares for me. Of course, I want to say hello to you. I try to give my time when I get online, and, you know, some people recognize that, and I don't know who doesn't. I know that some people don't like it, but that's fine. That we're not supposed to be here for everybody. We're all here of our own free will, and our will doesn't really correspond with everybody else's, always. So, I hope everybody has a good day, or good life. You know, and it's not even so much of a hope, but, you know, have one. Alright? So, peace.